Welcome back to another episode of Inspired Voices, the reality show edition, where we're covering Secret Lives of Mormon Wives with Sybil here.
Hello.
So we're working on episode 9 and 10, the last two episodes.
It is done.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll see. Stick around to the end and find out what surprises are in store, I guess you could say. If you have any comments or questions or the tea, have you heard the tea of any of the cast members? Listen down below. Let's hear some tea. So go ahead.
So we open with episode 9, the Book of Reckoning. Mm-hmm. Macy has made her way over to Jesse's house, and most importantly, she brought cookies.
Yeah.
And they end up talking about a girls' trip. I think it was...
New Orleans.
Yeah, it's New Orleans. And I think it is Jesse who's hosting the trip.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And they also end up talking about Jesse needing to have surgery to see, basically last season, some nurses reached out to her and recommended that she get her thyroid checked.
Yeah.
Because it looked like it might be enlarged. So she did. They found some nodules on it. So she has to essentially have surgery to have like a biopsy to see like, is it cancer? Is everything okay? And she's getting like a partial thyroid removal to get that done.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of what they're talking about there.
Right.
And then we basically head out to New Orleans.
Yeah, the whole group goes. Yep.
And we find out, Miranda says she did a sage cleanse after the Saint and Sinners event.
Yeah.
Because it was that deep. And
Yeah,
you know
she said
what?
the whole group needed a saging.
She was right. She was correct.
But Taylor wasn't there at New Orleans. New Orleans.
Taylor decided she needed to stay at home.
Yeah.
And that was the best idea she ever had.
Work on her mental health and other priorities took place.
Like her 3 children, you know?
Right.
Single mom. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Now, we also find out that, other than Taylor missing the trip, Jesse and Demi haven't talked about what Demi said, you know, or, you know, what Taylor alleges Demi said, but we all know that Demi said it.
Side note, because Taylor wasn't there, Demi said that she scared her off.
Yeah. Demi says a lot of things in this episode. So, right, they haven't, like, you know, we've got this unspoken about beef between Jesse and Demi. Taylor isn't there. And I think it is Michaela who actually was like, well, I thought that, you know, the beef was going to be between Taylor and Demi. And now that Taylor's not here, I'm wondering who's going to blow up. Which is like, also called it.
Yeah, and on brand.
Yeah.
Right? And then Layla says that she feels bad that she didn't have Taylor's back at the Saints and Sinners party.
Which she should, because she said she would, and was just crickets as usual.
It's hard though, like, if you're not confident, if you're not like one that speaks up, it's hard to even do that, even when a friend truly needs it sometimes.
It is, but also if you're not going to speak up in public, then don't speak up in private. Like, you were the one who carried the bones and showed Taylor all that stuff. And Taylor was like, oh, are you going to have my back? And you were like, yeah. And then when push came to shove, you sat there awkwardly as usual.
It's weird seeing her at the party of the Saints and Sinners when they had that talk. Because it cuts to Layla, and every time Layla's like, you know, it's like, I wonder what the girls were thinking about her reaction.
I think they were all having their own reaction. I don't think anybody was paying attention to Layla because the bombs being dropped between Demi and Taylor.
Well, especially the fact that Layla, when they were talking about like, who told you that? And it's Layla who told her that. So I'm wondering like if, you know.
I don't think they picked up on it. I think they'll know now.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So while we're there, early into the trip, the girls receive a video from Jen in their group chat.
Yeah, first time.
And in the video, Jen basically tells the girls, you know, she's going to get some rest, you know, she's prioritizing mental health, all of that. And then basically, everybody but Demi basically warms up, you know. Layla, to her credit, is the first one to say, you know, look, mental health issues trump everything. So basically, I'm just going to give her a pass.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. And then to go back a little bit, when they get into the house from at first, like they're greeted with a chef that's actually cooking authentic New Orleans food. And you could definitely tell that they are not from there.
A lot of shock and awe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jesse also comments on Jen's video and realizes that Jen is struggling more than she thought she was. And basically, because they had the blowout at the dessert restaurant, she says when Jen is ready, she'll be ready to have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
Which is nice, considering all that was said during that interaction.
And Layla has some empathy for her, too.
Yeah. She was the first one to say.
Video, yeah. What do you think about Layla?
I think Layla's young, and I think we forget that. She's 23 years old.
Sure.
But
you think her intentions are in a good place?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But that just kind of also goes back to being young, not really having the personality type to be, the leader in a situation. She sways a little bit. She needs time and more experience.
Right. But eventually, all of them have empathy for Jen's video, except for Demi, of course. Demi has a hard time with Jen's video. She doesn't believe her and all that stuff, so as usual.
Demi says she's not buying it, and it's a little bit manipulative and cowardly. Basically, Demi says, I think crying videos are weird, and they're kind of manipulative. Michaela, is doing her aside and says she's more hesitant with trusting Demi because of how she's approaching Jen's situation.
Yeah, and she feels like she can't go to the group with anything anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a theme for Michaela and Macy, actually.
Yeah, about being vulnerable.
Right. Yeah. And basically, the theme we start seeing throughout the episode is just let Demi cook. She will cook herself.
Yeah.
There's no... Taylor doesn't need to be there. Jen doesn't need to be there. No one else needs to be there. Just let Demi keep talking. So then, we put a pin in that, and we get to some fun, and the ladies go to a burlesque show.
Yep.
I would argue this is not. I don't know if this is truly a burlesque show. I feel like I need to dig into the definitions a little more.
Well, maybe in New Orleans it's a little different, right? Just like if you go to Miami strip club, it's going to be a little bit different than North Carolina or
I'm
Georgia
sure.
or something like that.
Well, and Atlanta is its own beast.
Yeah.
But the burlesque show, I mean, there's really not much to say besides, Layla smokes a joint from a burlesque dancer's vagina.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So the dancer pulled out a joint from her vagina, and then she lights it up, and then she gives it to Layla, and Layla, caught up in the moment, of the hype. She just takes a toke. It's almost like somebody just hands you something really quickly, and you just take it without even thinking about it.
It's not like that. I would have thought about it immediately, and I would have stopped and said, no, thank you. But your dance was great.
That's what happens when you're a beta.
I don't even know if that's what happens when you're a beta. That is, it's one thing getting hit in the head with a shrimp. Okay, you got caught up in the moment. It's another getting caught up in this moment.
Yeah.
And you can see how much it did not register for her until she got on the bus.
Yeah.
And all the ladies were like, do you understand what you did?
Yeah.
And she was like, please cut it. Please cut it.
Yeah. She could have had a yeast infection.
There's so many possibilities and none of them good. Then we, switch off from that and we get back to Taylor, and she's visiting with her mom and her sister. And she tells them about the Saints and Sinners party. And Taylor's sister, who's been, the level-headed, reasonable one, at this point says, you know what? I'd go to war. And you know what? Fair. Taylor's kind of all by herself in this. Nobody has her back. Yeah. And she's just going head-to-head with Demi.
And her mom was like, Demi is a CW.
Yeah, and nobody knows what she's trying to spell.
Yeah.
Because I don't, what is that? I think there's another C word, but I don't know what she was trying to spell.
Yeah.
And I noted here, it's I'm wondering if this is why, despite the barbecue from hell that she had with her family, I'm starting to see why she leans on them so much, that and the childcare, because she mentioned she was they really come in clutch with that. But she feels so alone in this friend group as well, that, her family's the only people that are coming around being like, hey, we got you. We see Demi for who she is and all of this. So it's kind of a funky place to be, though, because your family's still judging you to high heaven as well.
Yeah.
But we go back to New Orleans. Immediately, it's the next morning, Jesse's doing people's hair. And I was just like, girl, don't you get a day off? Like, that was the first thing I thought. Like, if you're on a trip and you're like in the beauty industry and you're doing, and you know, makeup artist, hairstyle, something like that.
Yeah, that's work.
That's gotta be annoying because people are going to be like, hey.
Probably the same as like a masseuse too. Like your masseuse friends.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
like, that's hard. I don't think I would do that, especially after the comment that Jesse found out about. It's like,
I wouldn't do Demi's hair, but I wouldn't take it out on the rest of the girls.
yeah, it's, you know.
And we find out that, you know, she gives free hair. Like, you know, they're going
They
to her
all get
salon
free,
for
yeah.
free. And extensions are not cheap. Hair services are not cheap.
I'm sure they pay for the hair though.
I'm sure they didn't,
They
especially
just don't
if,
pay for the service.
not if it's her brand. Because that's free advertising,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
you know. So Layla asks Demi if she sees herself, Layla's always trying to start some mess. Layla asks Demi if she sees herself ever being friends with Taylor again. And of course, Demi says she doesn't see that. Like, because Taylor doesn't take responsibility. So it's like basically a no.
Yeah.
But Demi says she's repairing her relationship with Whitney. And like basically the girls are confused. And they're like, well, okay, so you're fine with Whitney now. You were so intense about her before, but you're fine with repairing that. And now you're like super in on Taylor.
Wasn't somebody calling her out a little bit on that?
Not that I remember, but honestly, we watched this like a week ago, so possibly.
Yeah. I feel like Michaela or something was like asking questions about that, but yeah.
So Macy says she thinks Demi is playing the game of who can stab the knife deeper between her and Taylor.
Yeah.
And also facts. That is 100% what's happening. I mean, what did Demi say? I'm gonna have an atomic bomb for you. Like, that's what it is. It's bomb for bomb.
Right.
You know, and then we do a super fun except terrible game.
The next day.
Yeah, the next day.
Layla's cooking breakfast, or
Layla's the one who got the pregnancy test. I don't know if she was cooking breakfast, but she's the one who got the pregnancy
something
test.
about, okay, so they're having breakfast, but she also brought, pregnancy test, and was going to play pregnancy roulette with the group.
Yeah.
Because that's fun. Have you ever played that?
No. And I don't think I ever will. I don't see the point in that, actually, because if a test does come up positive, then the only person who knows is that person, or they may not even know yet, which is also an awkward way to find out. And then everybody has to retake the test so you can figure out who's pregnant. There's just a lot of questions with pregnancy roulette.
But what a fun story.
True. Yeah. Much like, the burlesque show. So many fun stories and great ideas.
Many fun stories.
You can tell they've never been to New Orleans before.
That's on camera for life.
So much. So, shocker, we get 2 positives. But we only know that one person's pregnant because we know that's Macy.
Yeah.
And then it quickly
Yeah.
devolves. And Demi has a meltdown.
Yeah.
She is weeping.
Yeah, because she can't have a kid herself.
She's
been trying
between
for 4
her and
years.
Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're having difficulties. And she says she was crying because for a minute she's like, oh my, it must be me. I must be pregnant.
Right. But it
and
can't
then
be
she
her.
realized it can't be her.
Yeah.
And then just lost it. And
Yeah.
then Jesse was like, whoever's pregnant, they need to say. This isn't fair to Demi. It got real dark.
Yeah. And then Demi just kept saying, like, who's pregnant? Who is it? Who's pregnant?
And then, no one says a word.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so, for sure.
And then we switch over to Macy and Kayla getting ready. And Michaela's like, I feel so bad. Now, we did not know Michaela was pregnant. We're just finding out. She's just like, I feel so bad. But, there were 2 tests and then nobody else said anything. And I didn't want to say anything in that environment. So I didn't say anything. And then Macy was like, Macy's trying to get Michaela to guess that she's the other pregnant person and failing desperately because Michaela's just doing her makeup. She's like, I don't get it. And then she's like, it's me. And then they just have the cutest best friend moment.
Yeah.
It was very cute. 2 people who are really happy for each other. And then I will say, I thought this was a mature move. I can't say I would have done it. I thought it was a mature move.
They go to Demi's room?
Yeah. And they, say, hey, we're the ones who are pregnant, you know, and then they go and comfort her.
Right.
I
think Demi's the one actually that kind of called it out when they both went into her room. Demi was like, is it you guys? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah. And Jesse, as a good friend, had already been in the room trying to console Demi while she was having a meltdown.
Right.
So once again, great idea that went terribly wrong.
Right.
So we get back to Taylor's house, and just a little blip. She basically says she needs to let Dakota go completely.
Yeah.
And she feels at peace with that decision.
Right.
I think this is like the 4th or 5th time she's made peace with the decision to let Dakota go this season.
Oh, you think so?
And yeah, because then we find out, like, it was a couple episodes ago, and she was like, yeah, we're done, but yeah, we have sex. And yeah, like, we're done, but it's just co-parenting, but everything's basically the same.
I don't know. This one feels different for me.
No. I hope it's different.
Yeah. Well,
I just don't know. We get back to New Orleans. The ladies go sightseeing. And it was so just interesting. Like, it was cute. Like, they've never been before.
Yeah.
So they saw Cafe Du Monde and a second line band that they called something else.
A live band.
Yeah, or something. And I was like,
oh, look, a live band.
And I was like, it is a second line band, ladies. No, the culture.
Right.
And then, and they're like dressed so cute. I'm pretty sure they were in heels, which I was just like, bad idea, ladies. Like,
just like downtown in New Orleans, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's all like cobblestone or like uneven.
a lot of it can be,
Yeah.
but also just like if you're like sightseeing in a place that's like in a downtown area, it's very walkable. Like, don't do the heels.
Yeah.
Like, be cute in sneakers
Yeah.
in a different way.
Sybil's from New Orleans, or Louisiana, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm biased. So Jesse pulls Demi aside and talks to Demi about what she said about the salon.
Right.
Demi is in like full deflect mode. She is not taking responsibility for this at all. And Jesse tells Demi that like it felt like she was taking business away from her and that she's getting taken advantage of, which agreed. And then she lays it out. She's like, I give y'all free hairstyles, curling their hair every time they do something, which we literally saw that morning. So facts,
And like, she says that Demi seems to blame other people for the problems, and she starts to think that Demi is the cancer in the group.
Facts.
Yeah.
And Demi just says, it was spun. It was twisted.
Right.
I didn't mean it that way, basically. And Jesse says, exactly what you said about feeling like a cancer in the group. And we're seeing kind of the light bulb go off for Jesse of like, maybe it's not a great idea.
There's a light bulb, but then there's taking action on it, which doesn't really happen.
I think that's also because people are afraid of Demi.
Yeah. And also, I think the bomb just goes off on her own.
Yeah.
So
They go to dinner. They're all just like witches, basically. Like, it was weird. Like, their outfit choices, it didn't seem to really be something that they'd wear in Utah, but, teach their own.
well, they're in New Orleans, so they got to dress what they know New Orleans to be, which is not much.
Yeah, fair enough. And then we find out, because it's still the holidays during this season, we find out, Jesse asks Demi if she's going to invite everyone to her Christmas party. And Demi says that Brett is equally unhappy with Taylor and basically kind of like she can hit the road. So basically, we know Taylor's not getting invited.
Yeah, and of course Brett's like that because it's Demi's wife. It's like all he knows is what Demi has been saying.
I also think Brett he knows his way around reality TV. And yeah, I mean, like you said, he does he has to side with his wife for one, but he could have also just stayed out of it, So Jesse says basically about Taylor, like, she apologized, so I can't hold a grudge. Like, it is, if she does something after that, that's one thing, but she's apologized, so let it lie. Miranda says she wants to give Taylor the benefit of the doubt, but she's still trying to heal from other things. I think it's interesting that we get this take from Miranda because basically she doesn't talk. We rarely hear from Miranda except when she's like trying to kick Chase out of a party. Especially after like they had their hash out, or so I thought, like around the corn maze situation.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
Well, that one was needed.
Yeah, it was needed, but I thought it was a little more hashed out versus her still trying to like get over something.
Oh, gotcha.
And then Demi drops another bomb and says, if Taylor is in, she's out.
Yeah.
Once again, kind of sat around the table and everybody's like, really?
I think a few of them, or a couple of them, said that, I feel like that's not fair because, this person, everyone kind of does something at some point.
I think you're right. I think Macy said it's not fair to kick her out. and then it's not fair for you to leave if she's in. You know, kind of giving her that ultimatum. And Michaela made the point that it wouldn't be fair if she gave the same ultimatum about Whitney. And I was like, thank you for making sense.
Whitney understands that she's going to zip her lip, pretty much, throughout this conversation.
So she says so, like, in the aside, the little, like, diary portion. She says, oh, no, I agree with Demi, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I'm on thin ice with the others.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Whitney is diabolical.
She knows.
Yeah, but she's not dumb. And she's going to be like, yeah, but not right now.
Yeah.
And then Jesse, you know, calls it and says that Demi wants to kick Taylor out because she's a threat and she secretly wants to be the leader of MomTok. And that is the end of episode 9.
That's it. You know, by the title of episode 9, it felt like it was going to be like the last episode. But luckily we have one more episode. Episode 10.
The Book of Salvation. Not necessarily whose salvation.
Right.
It's clear, but it was a Book of Salvation.
Yeah, something like that.
We're back in Utah, thank goodness. New Orleans was it was team too much.
Right.
And Layla visits Taylor, because that's what she does now. They're like best friends behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So Layla brought Taylor a present, and basically she's trying to make it up to Taylor for not sticking up for her at the Saints and Sinners party.
Right.
Taylor says, you know, she didn't go to New Orleans because she felt very alone at the Saints and Sinners party and didn't want to be in the same spot.
Yeah, and didn't feel like it honestly just didn't feel like she didn't want to fight anymore.
Which also, I feel like that's a sign of maturity.
It is.
And also just being like, I don't need that soundbite. You know, I don't need this show that badly where I'm going to go on another trip and be absolutely miserable and not protect my peace.
Exactly.
So
she has better things to do.
Yeah.
And then Layla tells Taylor about Demi saying that she's going to leave TikTok. I mean, no, MomTok if Taylor's still in it.
And Taylor says Demi needs Jesus.
Yeah.
And I say, amen. I'm like, girl, you're right. Then Leanne, Taylor's mom, shows up, who Leanne is... So many feelings about Leanne.
She's a nosy one.
She's yeah, I don't know where Leanne is coming from sometimes. And then we find out, while they're kind of all talking, that Demi has apparently accidentally invited Taylor to this Christmas party.
Yeah.
Because Layla asked if she was going, and she was like, why wouldn't I go? I got an invitation.
Right.
And then Layla basically explains to Taylor.
I don't think Demi wants you to go.
Which is
I think you got that
awful.
on accident. Yeah.
First of all, I've never accidentally invited somebody anywhere.
Yeah. But
I
if
checked
it's
those
in a group
texts.
chat.
Nope. I'm very specific about that, one. And honestly, two, thankfully, Layla explained that to her. Because can you imagine showing up to a party that you weren't actually invited to?
Right.
And then the host being like, no. I mean, we saw how that went down with when Leanne shows up, but we'll get into that.
Right.
So, of course, Leanne then volunteers to crash the party for her.
Yeah.
But they kind of just leave it there.
I'll bring my boxing gloves.
Yeah, like, we don't actually think she's going to go. We're
Right.
wrong.
Yeah, we were wrong. Completely wrong. Because cut to the Christmas party at hand. First off, we're at the party. Demi looks different. She got a makeover or something like that.
She basically parted her hair different and wore a red lip.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
All right.
She looked good. You know, a part can change how you walk, though.
Gotcha. And Taylor Moms just happens to walk in
Yep, good
with a
old
present.
Leanne.
I'm like, holy shit.
And like, this party is only the MomTok people.
Yeah.
It's not like a big Christmas party like I expected it to be.
Yeah, and before she even walks in, like, everyone was just having a good time. Everyone has settled in the group, in the event. And then she walks in with a present.
And the thing is, like, before they had cut from Taylor's house, she said if Demi wants to push her out, she'll have to say it to her face. So honestly, I assume Taylor still may crash the party.
Yeah, me too.
And then I was surprised when she didn't and her mom crashed the party.
And then I thought, does Taylor know that her mom is there?
I am still not clear on that.
Me neither.
Not clear on that at all.
Because it was a joke, but I don't know if she knew.
And then when they ask about it later, she's like, I heard about it. And I'm like, but you know what? I'm sure Taylor probably knew. But she might have been like, don't worry about it. And Leanne does what she wants to do.
Yeah.
But basically, Leanne shows up and almost immediately, Demi's like, oh, do you want to talk privately? Which I don't know why, because she ends up yelling at it. Everybody could hear it anyway.
Yeah.
And Leanne says she thought, they go talk privately, and she says she just thought it was odd that no one commented on the CMA post. Like, she thought it was odd too. And they do a little aside of Dakota, and he's like, yeah, I thought it was odd too.
Right.
Which, when you think about it, none of y'all said anything, but okay. Then Demi just starts talking.
Yeah.
And she says she's seen Taylor do this to other people, and Dakota is calling Demi and telling her all these things. And Leanne's just like, look, Demi, you just want to be Queen Bee. And I think that also just escalated things even more.
Oh, for sure. Because, also Leanne was like, she's a single mom. You can have a little bit of empathy for her. And Demi's like, I was a single mom too, so I understand. And then someone in the MomTok, Jesse was like, she's been a single mom for like a month.
Yeah. Whitney, never one to miss a moment. Her ears perk up, and she goes and sits by Demi and Leanne.
Yeah, bad timing.
Well,
I feel like she regretted that as soon as she sat down.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
She did. And she tried to jump in a little bit, and then once again realized, I don't need to be here. I'm still on thin ice. Let me go back.
Yeah.
And, also with the, I was Leanna trying to defend Taylor and being like she was a single mom. Demi says she's gone through a divorce, marital issues, financial issues, and fertility issues. And Taylor never checked in on her, and Leanne starts to cry at this point. She reminds them that Taylor is the one that brought them all together. And she's trying to be like, she's a good person. And then Demi gets loud and disrespectful, even though she was already kind of on the disrespectful train.
Cusses at Leanne.
Says she's sick of Taylor getting a pass. And she says, welcome to the real world. It sucked. And it sucks. And basically it fucking sucks for them too. Like, she's cursing somebody's mama.
Yeah. And then the other moms, obviously they could hear everything that's going on.
The moms of MomTok, yeah.
Yeah, and they're all like, oh my God, I can't believe she's like cussing at her mom and stuff like that. That's like so disrespectful.
Yeah. And Demi also says that Taylor needs help, therapy, and to be an effing mom. And you're just like, well, tell us how you really feel. And like, she literally yells, she needs to be an effing mom, and then Santa comes in.
Yeah.
And it was like
terrible timing.
It was like, did the producers do that? Like, was someone just trying to break it up?
Right.
And then Whitney's still like sitting there, and this is when she realizes it's time to exit. And she goes, you know what? I'm praying for her. And then she just walks off because she's realized she should not have been there.
Yeah. And at this point, Santa comes in, and then they all kind of go outside for something.
Everybody but Demi.
Yeah.
Brett has to come get Demi.
Yeah.
And be like, sorry, there's a surprise for you outside.
Right.
A snow machine.
Right.
I also saw somebody go out and they had like their tongue out, and I was like,
that's a machine snow machine.
I don't know what this
it's
is
not
made
real,
of.
It's not real snow.
And honestly, real snow too. Gross. Don't ingest that. And then as like Brett is taking out Demi, you hear him be like, call Demi Taylor 2.0.
Yeah.
Just constantly deflecting.
He calls Leanne that.
Right.
Yeah.
So Leanne leaves, but she had brought a gift from Taylor, which also I'm like, well, you had to know that your mom was coming if you had that gift.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, for sure.
And Taylor, being messy boots,
Yeah.
had given Demi a Jay-Z Styles like hair product set.
So Jesse's company, her hair
And I think
products.
it was Demi who asked Jesse, did you give her this? And Jesse with a smile on her face is like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that's fun.
I think Jessie was kind of surprised, but like she liked it because it's her shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Because Demi did her dirty about her hair. So she's like, nice
but then
for
everyone
Taylor.
was like, oh.
It was funny. It was like fun, petty, which was nice.
Demi says like it's time to say who's in and who's not.
Which was just so like, you couldn't give them a day.
Right.
Like, it just seems like, obviously this is from what we're seeing, every time Demi's with the group, it's always me or her, me or her, me or her.
Yeah, so they're having they said that they're gonna have a meeting. Let's have a meeting about who's in, who's not, and Whitney kind of invited herself, and nobody really clocked it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I can't remember who said it. I think it was Jesse who said it should be the OGs.
Yeah.
And because basically they were like, not Miranda.
Right.
Because we don't know if she's there yet. But like nobody said anything about Whitney. And she's just sitting there like,
Yeah. So what time?
you know, will there be snacks? I'm bringing baby Billy. So Macy, thankfully, that's done.
Yeah.
And then we get some more insight into Macy. And she goes to visit her, like, in-laws, but in-laws of, like, her first son. Like,
Her first husband.
I'm not sure if they were married because she was in college, but it was her first son's father who died in a car accident.
Right.
She goes to see his parents. We find out she had been a sophomore in college when she got pregnant with her oldest son, and then he had passed away because of a car crash. And it was like 8 years ago, and she never really dealt with it. Mm-hmm. And she sees her son, who plays baseball like his dad did, all those things.
Start looking at him more, all that.
And that's also kind of plays into the book she wrote, about all the things she had gone through and all that stuff.
Right.
It looks like she's still going through. So it was sweet to see, like, not just the mess, but like real life stuff that's going on.
Exactly. Then we shoot over to Taylor's mom's house, right? And Dakota comes over.
Yeah.
And that's where they officially break up, right?
Yeah. And Dakota admits that had he been in a better place, when he met Taylor, he would have seen things differently.
Right.
And I will say, he had a really good point, and he acknowledges that having been an addict for so long, he was used to just hiding things.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how he operated, so sometimes it's just about timing.
It is. It really is.
Actually, I think it's always about timing. I take that back. It's always about timing.
Yeah, it's tough. Timing can be really tough because it could be like the perfect person, but just timing is not there. Mm-hmm.
So then we go to Jessie. Oh, right. And she has had her biopsy.
Yes, she got surgery.
Thankfully, everything was okay.
Right.
Because I think that maybe that's why they met at Jessie's house. She just had her surgery or whatever.
I forgot that she was having surgery, and like I looked at her neck and she had that scar. I was like, holy shit, she got sliced.
Yes.
But I thought it was like murder slice, not like surgery.
Thankfully, it was surgery, and it was not a murder slice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they talk about that. They've gone to her salon, actually.
Yeah.
And Macy has come to get hair for her mom.
Right. Oh yeah, she gets this one.
Right, because everybody's getting their extensions. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a good daughter, getting extensions for your mother.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Jessie says she feels conflicted about Demi, and she maybe needs to take a break. And I was like, basically, you can see kind of like Jessie, Macy, Michaela, even more so Layla. Like everybody's just like, I'm tired. Like, can we be done with all of the fighting?
Yeah.
Like they only have a certain bandwidth for that.
Demi keeps bringing things up, and it's getting everybody not in a good place.
Right. And then it is the fateful MomTok vote at Jessie's house.
Yeah. So it's voting time. And Demi and Taylor haven't talked since the Saints and Sinners.
Which Jessie was like, that was a long time ago, which we don't realize because everything seems so condensed. But yeah. So they say the business was like, they get into like, well, what even is MomTok?
Yeah.
Like, what is the business?
They haven't like made a video together in a long time.
Mm-hmm. And that is what they used to do. And then they basically start the vote.
Yep.
Taylor has showed up. Everybody's there. Yeah. Everybody's there but Miranda.
They start with Whitney?
Yes.
Yeah.
And basically, Whitney gets back into MomTok, despite Michaela and Taylor voting no. And Michaela didn't even technically vote no. She was just literally the last one. She was already outvoted. And she was just like, there's no point in me saying anything because, it is what it is. Yeah. Taylor said, like, she said what was true, and she was like, I'm going to say no because I was there for you. And I said it at Miranda's house when everybody was like, against Whitney.
Yep.
And I was there for you, and you basically screwed me over again. Which Whitney was once again like, what do you mean? Deer in headlights. So she said no, stood on business,
right.
But Whitney's back in. The majority rule,
right.
And then in her little, diary cam was just like, I'm so excited. I'm back in MomTok.
Yeah.
Like,
But in the group, she said, "Yay, confetti!"
Right. So we'll see how that goes next season.
Right.
And then without like being prompted for they also say Miranda just needs more time. We kind of like skirt over Miranda.
Yeah.
They were just like, I think we should do the same thing we did for Whitney. She just needs more time.
Yeah.
Which, okay. I could take or leave Miranda. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see where she fits in yet.
I was excited at first.
I was too.
Because I thought her and Taylor had would have like a real decent something going on.
I kind of agree with their statement, like that she just needs more time.
Yeah, and I also feel like Miranda has realized she did not know what she was getting into.
Right.
Like it's a whole different ball game, like when you're doing reality TV mom talk versus TikTok mom talk.
Yeah, she might be happy where she is.
Exactly. And then unprompted for the vote, Taylor goes, so no to Demi.
Yeah. And then it was like, we're not voting if I'm in or not, dumbass. Or, she didn't say dumbass, but.
And then Demi says she's done absolutely nothing to her. And Taylor's like, what? And Demi says that Taylor lied about the hair comments. And then she proceeds to ask the group, how can they be friends with Taylor? Because she's a disgusting human being. Taylor doesn't have to say much. Demi just keeps talking.
She doesn't take any accountability, and everyone's saying that too.
Yeah. And then Demi starts to cry because she realizes, she says, I have been so loyal to each of you. And she doesn't understand why she's alone in the argument.
Right.
And she feels like she's on an island by herself, which is why she is crying now, because she was all big and bad, and now no one's following her.
Right.
And Taylor, who is just so in her I'm going to be petty bag because now you've made me angry.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. She says, well, if you feel that way, door's there, Demi.
Yeah.
And Demi said she's going to take some time and decide if she wants to continue in Mom Talk.
Right. She's gonna take the time, right?
You know?
She didn't decide anything. No one decided anything for her.
Because she said she was gonna leave. Taylor was out. Taylor's clearly not leaving.
Yeah.
And you realize, well, now I have to save face. So I'm gonna take some time.
Right.
So that's that. Like, it's just kind of done. Demi leaves, and that's the end of the vote.
Yeah.
Not highly productive. Whitney got back in, Demi left, Miranda's on ice. Like, we're right back where we started.
But at least we know Taylor's still in the game.
Yeah, I think.
And there's no trying to vote her out kind of thing.
For as, fragile as she can be, she's also very strong.
Very strong.
It's what makes her so compelling.
Yeah.
And she is, for better or worse. I don't think Taylor's actually, has ill intentions, whereas Demi, on the other hand, you're just like, girl.
Yeah, what are your intentions?
Right. They do not seem honorable.
Right. I think I could highly speak that we are team Taylor.
Facts, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. Fuck Demi fans.
No, we're not doing that.
Okay.
We're not doing So then we get to something serious, and Michaela drives Macy to Eric, so her son's father, his crash site.
Right.
And we find out that Macy she had an argument with Eric before he passed.
Yeah, which is tough.
And that's also weighing on her. She's like, I said some really not nice things.
Yeah, the guilt of that.
And she's still really hurting about his passing, and that's clear.
So she's going to the crash site for a few reasons. Closure, healing. She's also writing a book, which if she is strong enough to go to the crash site and deal with it, then she can actually walk the walk when she's writing the book about it.
And Michaela and Macy pray at the site of the accident.
Yeah.
And she's going through it when she's there.
Mile marker 182.
Yeah. So we go from that serious, touching thing to some hot garbage of Layla and Marciano meeting up.
Right. That was unexpected. I did not expect that at all.
Layla this season basically became, because she didn't have much of a storyline of her own, but she became that person who's kind of perpetuating other So in Housewives land, Layla would be known as the bone carrier. She is carrying people's bones and dropping them off and then seeing what happens.
There you go.
And then she comes back. So unexpectedly, because Layla had said in one of her like diary things, I'm gonna have to talk to Marciano and like see what this is. But I don't think anybody expected her to go meet up with him while he was skiing. And she's in this like very, very tight miniskirt.
Right.
So Layla meets up with him, and so Layla's like, okay, so what happened with you and Demi? And then Marciano's first response is, well, what did Demi say?
Right.
Which are like, okay, that's never a good sign. And Marciano says he put himself out there and didn't really know what was going on.
Because like he found out they were poly, so like to him, I mean not poly, swingers, and so that's why he put himself out there. It was like, oh well, I guess it's okay to flirt a little bit.
Were they swingers, or did he just not know what was going on with their relationship?
I think both.
Oof. Well, he wanted to try to entertain it because he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And he felt like she was friendly flirting. No.
Flirting.
He felt like she was flirting, but he didn't realize that it was just friendly.
Right. And he caught feelings for her.
He did.
Yeah.
Said he tried to kiss her, caught feelings for her, but it's really just a rumor.
Right.
But it wasn't a rumor with Jesse.
Yeah.
And that seemed to come out of nowhere.
So the rumor was that, she like jumped into his arms, legs wrapped around him, and like kissed, making out in public. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. That was a rumor. And so apparently that is true.
He confirms one thing led to another, and they did more than make out with each other.
Yeah. It wasn't just a one-night stand. It was a full-on affair.
Yep. He says they've still been in contact and have met up to continue this affair. And then Layla's like, you know what? I'm realizing I don't know Marciano all that well. Should I believe him? And it's like, I'm sorry. You took this trip to go see this man on camera and have this conversation.
I thought he took a trip there.
I don't know.
I think he's the one that was like in town or something.
Maybe because he was skiing, so he may have gone to people go to Utah to ski, so maybe.
But either way.
And he says that Jordan, Jesse's husband, doesn't know the truth of how extensive it was. Mm-hmm. So he knew something, but didn't know the truth about how bad it was.
Right.
And then Layla asked them basically if they had sex, and he nods his head yes. And that concludes episode 10 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
It blacks out, and then it says to be continued.
Thank goodness.
And we kind of, do we see glimpses of what's going on? No.
We do, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently, you looked it up, and apparently they're planning to release another 10 episodes of season 2.
Yes.
Sometime this year.
Part 2, season 2.
We don't know when, sooner rather than later, hopefully.
They're filming now.
They're filming now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, surprise, surprise. That was interesting.
And so smart. This is how you do it. When you have the content, don't put the cameras down for a year.
Right.
Could you imagine waiting a year and the amount of mess that would have happened by then?
I know, right?
We don't have the time to watch that many episodes next year.
Yeah.
Give us a little break and let us come back.
Yeah.
Because like this whole thing turned on its head. We all were like, what's going on, Demi? And there's still like, there's all this stuff going on online where Marciano's coming out and, doing like showing DMs from Demi. So like there's still like weirdness there.
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't know what's going on with him and Jesse thing. The cast is doing all these podcasts and like talking about all the things.
I wish that kind of wasn't happening. I wish they would wait until the episodes are released.
I'm okay with it only because I'm nosy and I want to hear about the things because I will 100% be watching the second drop.
I just wonder how that affects the drops, you know what I mean?
So, and like you'll hear it sometimes depending on like what podcasts are doing and things. They're like, well, we can't go into it right now fully, but like here's a little tidbit.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So yeah, like they're giving you little crumbs.
They're not the whole thing.
Right. And like, and you'll be like, oh, well, you'll see what, happens on the next season.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I think the second season of Mormon Wives was better than the first.
Yep.
And we're actually starting to get to know them more as people.
Right.
Outside of Taylor, because the first season it was just like, oh, here are all these problems she's
Mostly
having.
Taylor, yeah.
You know, but like getting into some more depth of things,
Yep.
which was really
Even
cool.
with husbands.
Yeah. Dad talk. See how that goes. So yeah, I'm waiting with bated breath for the second part of season 2.
Absolutely. That's it. That completes the episode so far, and we will be back for when that drop happens, obviously. And if you have any shows that you want us to recap or anything like that, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. We're all about it.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to add?
No, just looking forward to the second drop.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. My name is Oliver. This is Sybil. This is
Hello.
Inspired Voices Reality Show Edition. All right. Bye.